Cindy, thank you so much for joining us today. And you're coming all the way from Grand Island in New York State, is that right?
That's right, just south of Niagara Falls.
And I gather you've been with or involved with Awakening Together for just over 4 years. Do you mind telling us a little bit about how you came to be involved?
Sure. I work for the Teachers of God Foundation, and Jacqueline Eckert, our president minister, was the very first presenter in what is now called Evolve over there. And just a few minutes in her presence and something inside me lit up, and I sent her a message and asked her for a conversation. That's how I learned about Awakening Together.
And what keeps you involved with Awakening Together? What is it exactly that it provides? How does it support you on the spiritual path?
Well, it just lights me up from the inside out. There's about 1,000,001 different ways I can answer that question. In the beginning, Jacqueline had pointed me to the archives. And I started, those first couple of months, I started listening to all of Regina's original teachings, all of the oldies. Like, it went on for months, probably every time I was driving and not doing that, I was listening to those teachings. And what struck me then was just how open, vulnerable, and honest Regina was about her process. And I got tears in my eyes, because that's really what pulled me in initially, was that she really presented everything without filter. And there was this inner sense of recognizing that if she can, so can I. If she presented a path that said, just show up and be prepared to stand still in whatever's going on in your life, and your consciousness will raise. And from that moment on, I never planned. I never planned to go through the MPP program and become ordained, but I was ordained last year. I just kept saying yes. I never planned to fall so in love with the 3-year gentle healing program that I went through it and then became a facilitator, but I said yes. I didn't know that my closest friends and the people that light me up are all the people that I find in the rooms at Awakening Together pretty much every day, but they do. There's a real joined sense that we're in it together, and we're raising in consciousness together, and it's phenomenal. Does that answer your question?
It does answer the question, yeah, and it is phenomenal. And you mentioned that you really fell in love with the Gentle Healing program. Could you tell or speak a little bit to why you fell in love with it and what you found so wonderful about it?
Well, the Gentle Healing program, for anyone who doesn't know, is a 3-year program that, through year 1, there's a lot of A Course in Miracles and Michael Singer. Year 2 is all the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament, and then Inner Romana, which are 2 books that came through Regina Dawn Akers. And then year 3 is a deep contemplation through the quotes found in the 7 Steps to Awakening. The program was designed by Regina, and it's really a step-by-step guide, another way of using all of these teachings, again, to help one just sort of rise in consciousness and have an entirely new relationship with who you think you are and why you think you're here. I don't know, for me, almost every day now, I'm finding another way to let go of the thinking and allow this benevolent universe to flow through me. A, and B, again, it's done in a group. And so people come from all over the world, and they show up in the room, and there's a facilitator that guides you through this 3-year process. It feels so good. mostly. Sometimes it doesn't feel good, but when it doesn't, you've got lots of support. Yeah.
And it's all free, isn't it? Gentle healing.
Gentle healing, it not only is it free, but you could go to the sanctuary and look at the programming, and you don't even have to register. So you, once a week, whatever group is there is just there. You could show up in the room and sort of peek in, and almost so much of what goes on at Awakening Together is open and available. And there's some structure there so that everybody feels safe and open and welcome. But past that, man, you can move in and out, and you just know you're home. No?
A moment ago, you mentioned some of the books that have come through Regina Dawn Akers. Are there any in particular that have resonated with you, or any quotes that come to mind that have been particularly helpful for you?
You know, you said we only have 15 minutes, so I'm sitting here. I once heard Regina state, and I know she just did an interpretation of the Tao through her. I heard her state one time that if she was to have only one book on a desert island, it would be the Tao. For me, it is the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament. And just being with, the book is alive for me. I'm going through it, I don't know, the third or the fourth time now. With a group of friends, we're doing NTI 500 together. And the teachings within NTI are actually simple. The conditioned mind makes them real complicated, but essentially it shows us, just know that you're loved, know that you're taken care of, and let go of everything that tells you otherwise, and hold still. It's a beautiful undoing process. I can open the book at random and pick a quote, but none specifically come to me.
You did just speak about undoing and about letting things go. Are there any limiting beliefs or any things that you have been able to let go through processes that you've learned through Awakening Together?
What a great question. I can tell you that just yesterday, I was facilitating the Gentle Healing Year 3 class, and we were talking about the world as an illusion. And I was talking about some situations that occurred. Right at the end of that call, right at the end of that hour, I received a call from someone I care about that's very precious to me, and she was voicing suffering. And what was so interesting is that we were on the phone for maybe a half hour, and I felt the body contract. And I recognized absolutely that a couple of years ago, I would have suffered right along with her. And I would have attempted to fix her, and I would have believed everything she was saying. This time around, everything I'm learning is so ingrained that it was a subtle contraction, but I noticed the contraction. So I grabbed my notebook, I grabbed a pen, I sat on a rocking chair outside, and I started to look at what was going on. And I saw the part of me that believed that she could be suffering. And as soon as I saw it, I surrendered it. And what became very interesting was after that, again, because of the commitment to this work, I was able to see that thinking mind attempt to feed into the story I had heard, but it just kept speaking and then stopping, and then speaking and stopping, almost if it was trying to light a flame, but it had no fuel, and so it just kept fizzling out. And I recognized that whole experience was just a result of everything that we're doing at Awakening Together. And I can tell you, I slept really, really well last night. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it very much answers it. Thank you. And I think you mentioned writing then, didn't you? And for some people, writing is one of the ways, or journaling, that they connect with inner wisdom. And one of the things that's very important in Awakening Together is that people become self-reliant in relying on inner wisdom. What are the ways that you use to tune into inner wisdom?
Well, you know, I am the facilitator of the retreat called Awakening at Home. And it's a retreat that was created by Regina, and I went through the certification process. And in that retreat, there are 10 different tools that we teach people and we practice. The first and most important is our spiritual aspiration. So it's a key pointing that I rest in, that I've learned through Awakening Together, to learn how to be still and ask the right questions, to allow that guiding kind of idea to sit in your consciousness. And there's nothing more important than that. The spiritual aspiration is something that I hold in my consciousness all the time. And after that, there are various meditation techniques, awareness watching, awareness learning how to watch the mind in action, contemplation we talked about, surrender techniques, surrender and listening, surrender and following the flow. Huge processes and techniques we use on this path. And then there's acceptance, you know, being able to accept what is. The other tool that I use very clearly is showing up at Awakening Together on a real regular basis. I'm there almost every day. It's part of my curriculum, because when I'm immersed in the teachings and the sharing and being in the company of others who are also really focused on truth and really focused on the fact that we're all awakening together, and we're being really open and honest and vulnerable about what we find inside, then our consciousness raises as a matter of course, because we become what we focus on. And so hanging with groups of people all focused on our willingness to let go of fear and let go of the I am bad belief and let go of this belief that we are somehow separate and unique and special. And if you only knew my story, et cetera, then it sort of just happens. We get out of the way and life just gets better.
That camaraderie that I find as well through being in the Awakening Together community is so powerful. And it really provides you with a lot of courage, I find, as well as and helpful friendships.
Yeah, and just I was talking in the sanctuary last week, and it was key for me. Something occurred in my life, and there was a trigger and an inner upset, and I did a little root cause inquiry, which is, you know, another technique I didn't mention. But mostly what I saw within a few minutes was that that the story that created the upset in me was really just hanging on to this idea that it was my story. And right away, a number of stories that had been communicated in the sanctuary from people that I know and love showed up in my space. And I realized that I was not, even though those stories were very vulnerable, they talked about problems and issues and things that if they had been Cindy's story would have created this upset. When I took my name out of it and it was somebody else's name, it was a story, and I could hold this peaceful space for them, but I wasn't feeling the upset. And in that moment, I really recognized that the only thing that was holding the upset in place was this sense that it was my story. And being able to see all these other beautiful beings and their stories, it became just a story. And it was the magic sauce, as it were, that unhooked that particular upset, was letting go of the sense of my story makes it important, you know? So yeah, it's another huge, valuable piece of being part of this community.
Thanks. That's a great example to share. Thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned in passing your spiritual aspiration, you said it's very important to you. Do you mind sharing what it is at the moment?
Oh, my current spiritual aspiration is to trust the Tao more than the Cindy story, which really speaks to everything I was talking about, right? So the Tao talks about, for me, the Tao is about balance. It's about this space of knowing that there's this stillness, this emptiness that is unaffected by, the trials and tribulations, by anything, unaffected by anything that's temporary. So my spiritual aspiration, trust the Tao more than the Cindy story. It really reminds me that when I have an upset by anything that is temporary, it's not to be relied upon. I am willing to trust the fact that there is a stillness, a spaciousness that is unaffected, and that whatever is causing this upset, it's not going to last. And somehow that allows it to sort of dissolve. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned before that as part of the spiritual practice, you're very present in the Awakening Together sanctuary, which is online. Do you have any favorite programs or any programs that you particularly enjoy? Or I think you actually have a program in there, don't you? Would you mind also mentioning that?
Okay. Yeah, so I do share for 30 minutes on Wednesdays at noon, which is an extraordinary opportunity to just open up and get real vulnerable. And Wednesday afternoons is a phenomenal place to be in the sanctuary, because after me, it's Rhoda, who's our vice president, and after Rhoda, it's Anne, and then I think it's Doreen, and then it's either after that, it's either Regina or Helen Hamilton. That Wednesday afternoon lineup is phenomenal. I often can't stay for all of it because I'm still working, but I keep it on the radio. I am almost always in the early insights teaching, which I adore, because Regina took a year and went through all of those oldies that I talked about in the beginning, and she pulled out snippets that represent for her core teachings over the years. And then on Tuesdays at 6:30 Eastern, Jacqueline, our president minister, and her sister Connie lead a group in looking at each of these snippets. I think there's 200, Sina just told us the number, 248 or something, but we're going through these snippets one at a time and really being still and allowing them to inform us. And I love that class. On Sundays, Jacqueline and Rhoda are contemplating the Tao. And we're currently using Regina's, the new version of that. And that's a very powerful course. And after that, I'm there for clarifying the teachings. Additionally, pretty much my Sunday, the Sunday gathering is a place where it's my church. And regardless of who is leading the gathering, unless something very specifically pulls me away, my intention is to be there all the time. It's something that just feeds me.
Now, you know that we're doing this video as part of the celebration of Awakening Together's 10th anniversary. Is there anything you haven't mentioned so far that you particularly appreciate about Awakening Together and would like to mention, or that you think would be interesting for people new to Awakening Together, or if this is the first time that they've heard about it, for them to know?
Key for me, it's so interesting. I think Awakening Together represents the best of what a church could be. I mean, the best of what a church is. Between the programming that is really there 7 days a week, pretty much, or the Awakening Together radio, which plays 24/7, you could just really indicate that the room is always open, right? The doors are always open at Awakening Together. There's always a way to connect and marinate in the energy of what is represented. The core values and the mission of Awakening Together light up through everyone who's there, right? And the key is recognizing that all forms are accepted And so you will come into the room, and I have a lot of friends that have shown up. They've shown up for a minute and they stay for a lifetime, right? Because you recognize that no one is ahead of anyone else. Everyone in form is made up of the same consciousness, and that's really, really valued and honored and cherished within the doors. So no one puts themselves ahead of anyone else, and it allows us to do the heavy lifting of looking in our own individual dark corners and finding that we can bring it to the light and let it heal in a really safe, loving, beautiful place.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy. That's been lovely to hear about your experience with Awakening Together, and your genuine love for it and appreciation really comes through. So yes, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Hi, Joe. Welcome.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for having me.
I gather that you're joining us from a place called Shawnee. Where is that, Joe?
Shawnee, Kansas is a suburb of Kansas City. We're not too far outside of Kansas City. And a fun but probably meaningless fact is that I found out recently that our daughter graduated from the same high school that Regina went to when she lived in this area years ago. And so it's fun to see how people's paths cross before they know each other and that sort of thing. So anyway, that's where I am.
And that is a fun fact. Thanks for sharing that with us. And Joe, I understand that you've been on the sidelines for a bit longer, but you've been involved, so to speak, with Awakening Together for, is it around 3 or 4 years? Is that right?
Yeah, it seems like probably the end of 2019, somewhere around in there. And I know, when the pandemic hit, which is, the pandemic is a nice time reference, right? Because everybody remembers when that started. And so, in 2020, I became pretty active with the stuff in the sanctuary, retreats and things. So, yeah.
And what was it that attracted you to Awakening Together? What is it how does it help you along the spiritual path?
I had known Regina for some time, I met her years before and in Pal Talk when she was doing stuff in Pal Talk many years ago. And I knew that, she's a genuine, open and genuine, and I trusted her teachings and I trusted her. And so that's how I kind of followed along the sidelines for a while. I guess what attracted me to the community was when I started getting involved with the sanctuary stuff and the retreats. I just recognized that there was a something there that just an open acceptance, a group of people that were genuinely interested in awakening, in spiritual truth. And we're sincere about that. Actually, what the original attraction to get involved with the community was a great deal of suffering, right? And that had been going on for some time. It had been recognized for some time, and that's what had drawn me back to Regina and the group. Hang out on the sidelines and one of the programs that they were doing, it was a Michael Langford study group. I've been getting involved with Michael Langford's teachings, and they were doing a YouTube. I think it must have been Pal Talk back then. It was in 2017, probably somewhere around there. And so that, I was taking part in the Michael Langford study group, and as that dissolved, that's when I started getting more involved with the, with the community and as a whole, Awakening Together community as a whole. So, yeah.
And Joe, you know, Awakening Together encourages us to think about and to actually compose in a short phrase what our spiritual aspiration is. Do you mind sharing what yours is?
To have the direct experience of unfiltered reality. And actually, as I've contemplated that and been with that, I'm not sure to have would be the right word to say that. You know, it might be more to be the direct experience of unfiltered reality. Yeah. And then, you know, this week we just finished up an online retreat with Ann Blanchard and Rhoda Macklett facilitated. Oh, just a wonderful retreat. Just a wonderful retreat. And one of the things that, you know, we went through a list of values and chose values that became, we call them bridge identities. You know, if that spiritual aspiration maybe seems to, you know, or getting into right mind doesn't seem available in the moment, then turn to the values. You know, the values of minor curiosity, authenticity, and trust. And, you know, and just curiosity in itself is just, you know, just being aware of not knowing, you know, just resting in that, being open. You know, what is unfiltered reality? What would that be like? Just going into inquiry questions like that. So, yeah, what I call it, having a spiritual aspiration and stressing that as, you know, pointing out the importance of that. It's just, has been so helpful, you know, so helpful. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So what is yours, Julie, might I ask?
It's to have a direct experience of God's love. Oh, a direct experience of knowing that I'm loved. Yeah. Joe, when you said yours, it's interesting because I didn't necessarily understand exactly what you meant, but it touched me, something in me. I really felt it as you said it. So, yeah, it's really resonated.
The term unfiltered reality is a term that Angelo DeLullo uses. He's a teacher that wrote the book Awake, which has become popular in our community, in the Awakening Together community. And he uses that in his book and some of his talks. He just, and the first time he said it, it just, yeah, it just, what's that? Oh my, what's that? You know, so yeah.
Well, speaking of unfiltered reality, Awakening Together also encourages us to tune into internal guidance or inner guidance, inner wisdom, and to become self-reliant on inner wisdom. What's your experience with that? How does that look like for you?
Oh, you know, the first thing that's coming to mind right now, Julie, is when I started getting more fully involved with the community. And this was back and Regina was still doing some one-on-one mentoring at the time in 2020. I had a couple, and my desire was for her to tell me what to do. And that's what I'd looked for. You know, just used to having somebody, you know, just tell me what to do. And if you know Regina, that's just look within. It's like, so it's been a, we looked at that a lot this week in the retreat, which the name of the retreat was In the World But Not of It, Embodying Truth. And that was one of the things, especially the last couple of days, we went deeply into is just, you know, being willing to listen to and rely on inner guidance, and to turn away from the fear thoughts. One of the things that came up in fact, this came up, it comes up a lot, is, and we talked about this a lot, is that, guidance, a prompt can come in and be clean, relatively clean. It just comes in as as a feeling, I don't hear words a lot, but almost immediately, the mind can get in there and co-opt it. And then all these fear thoughts come in afterwards. And then, well, why are you doing this, or telling you why you're doing this, and all the whole story, So we got to look at that quite a little bit this week during the retreat, and kind of parse that out. And it's, when I heard people sharing during the retreat about their experiences with guidance, and I keep hearing this voice, pardon the language, but you suck at this. You're always going to suck at this. You're never going to be good at this, right? And the ability to just hear that and recognize that that's the voice of fear, that's the wrong mind. Is for me, that's been great progress. I think been great progress to be able to hear that and not believe it, or just question it, is that true? It's like, I don't. And the other thing that I guess this connects with your question too is that I recognize, and I do recognize this a lot getting into the sanctuary and hearing people share their experiences, is that the intention is to pause during the day often, what am I to do now? And the actual practice of that is far less than what it's intended. So there's a desire to rely on that much more. So I don't know if that got to your question or not. That's
perfect. Actually, it leads in perfectly to my next question, which is, what does your spiritual practice look like currently?
The morning devotional time is typically anywhere between an hour and 2 hours, depending on what work or life situation is there. And that will involve, usually not usually, just almost always it starts with writing at some point. If there's a lot of chattering and noise going on, then it's just, doing a mind dump, getting that out on paper. And then oftentimes when I get that out on paper, some of us have a thing where we just set a timer for 3 minutes and just write everything in the mind, And then when I look back at that after the 3 minutes, something will often jump out at me that this needs to be looked at further. And then I start writing, asking, what would you have me see regarding this, and journaling in that way. And then sometimes that will take up the whole time. I mean, other times it will take up part of the time, and then the rest of the time will be, reading some quotes and then going into meditation. Sometimes the meditation will last an hour or something like that. Doing the 500 days again, and the reason I felt the call to start it again, I'd gone through it once and finished it early last year, and then this year some of the folks in the community were going to do it again, and I just felt called to do it. Is it gives, there are daily practices, and my note card here, and the daily, whatever the daily practice is, goes on an index card, and so that comes out during the day often to contemplate, which is one of the reasons I love 500 days. It gives you something to focus on throughout the day, even though it's designed for, Regina said, for busy people, not to take up a lot of time. There's, during the day, it keeps attention turned back to the purpose. And then also I work from home, so I've had the benefit of being able to listen to stuff while I work. I listen to, to Regina's teachings and to Dr. Hawkins and Angelo DeLulo, stuff like that. I get to listen to those, take notes, and then when I have time in the evening, I look at, we'll look at things deeper at that point. And then the evening part of this is my favorite thing anymore, is that in the evenings after dinner, when weather permits, I get to go sit on the bench with my dog out back and just sit. And sometimes I'll feel, to take something to eat, but usually it's just sit and listen and just be there. So watching the retreat this week emphasized something else too, that we started off by just defining it as being and observing the world, but also more importantly, observing the inner world and what's going on in here. So that goes on throughout the day. And, yeah.
Thank you. I particularly loved, I felt like I was with you there on the porch with your dog, and I could feel the peace of it. It sounds beautiful. Now, you mentioned...
Although if
sorry, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, if you were here, she wouldn't be out there with us. She would have to be somewhere else.
Now, you mentioned 500 days, which of course is the 500 days with NTI, or 500 days with the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament, which is a book that came through Regina. And various books have come through Regina. The latest one is the, an interpretive translation of the Tao Te Ching. Mm-hmm. Now, of those books, are there any particular quotes or anything that's come through that particularly touched or resonated with you that you'd like to share? Is there anything that you tend to go back to, or that helped you realize anything?
Don't have my copy of NTI here, but Luke chapter 12 is always helpful when I can go back to that. It's the part that starts, this is the work you are to do now. And then it talks about looking at the thoughts within your mind. I don't remember the exact wording, but I go back to that often. And there are other places in NTI that are very helpful. Revelations, NTI Revelations is just... The whole book of NTI Revelations was just transforming to me, because I grew up with the Bible, and the whole Revelations thing in the original Bible was just effing frightening, right? And I got into a lot of that when I was a teenager, about the late great planet Earth and all the stuff so just the way NTI lays out Revelations and starting with chapter 1, it's just fascinating. But one thing, I guess, to draw one thing out specifically from all the books, the teachings of Inner Ramana right now is the mantra, I am that I am, to help draw attention away from the mind. And then the question, what am I to do now? Surrender. Here it is. This came in this week too, which is thanks for giving me a chance to share this, because this is important. The dog's getting ready to bark. Mailman's here, but it won't last. So bear with me. When we talk about guidance, this goes back to your question about and pointing out guidance, the importance of guidance. I've been involved with other spiritual communities and traditions that talk about that as well, right? But the idea that I always got from that was the purpose of doing that was so that Joe could have a great life and everything would go peachy, and I could, well, if there's now, I'd post a picture on Instagram and underline it with blessed, because look at that sort of thing. You know what I'm getting at, though. It's right. So I could have a big car and all the stuff, and this is what Spirit's going to guide me to. And this was hard to swallow. Still is hard to swallow, but it's so important. Is that you know, in Inner Ramana, it points out the purpose of guidance is to help us break the attachment to an identification with the thinking mind. And it's to draw us, and in NTI it says, I'm guiding you away from the world. I'm guiding you away from your identification with your little S self, you know, the personality self. I'm guiding you to know thyself, the truth of what you are, right? And that one little thing, I guess, is why the more I can say that, the more it'll just kind of stay here. It's like, that's the purpose of this. That's why it's important. You know, when I'm standing in the middle of my living room, it's like I'm just getting ready to run off to do something else. You know, why would I need Holy Spirit's guidance here? Right? It's because I'm focused up here, you know, to get out of there and to make. Regina used a phrase recently about the vertical drop. You know, when we talked about this week making the, you know, the move from the head to the heart. So that's why it's important throughout the day, even if things, you know, it's just a normal day and things are going well, and then next thing you know, I'm just in Looney Tune land. So anyway, yeah. So if there's one thing, that's it. Maybe not a specific quote or anything, but that's it. So,
that was great. That was really helpful for me to hear that. So thank you. And Joe, we're doing this because we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Awakening Together. And in that context, is there anything that you haven't already mentioned that you'd like to talk about in terms of what you appreciate about Awakening Together, or things that perhaps people that are new to Awakening Together would find helpful to know?
I love this community, you know. I just like I mentioned, you know, the folks that are just so sincere about their process of awakening, you know. The programs that are offered. I haven't done gentle healing, but seeing the people that go through gentle healing has such a profound effect on them. The retreats, all of the audios and, you know, the stuff that's available on the website, just a tremendous amount of resources on the website. Just amazing. The you know, all the pointers that are there, and then getting to know some of the members more over the last few years. It's just been, you know, to make that connection. It's just, yeah, it just opens my heart. It's just, yeah, I love this community. And like a lot of people, I'm sure, when Regina announced that she was retiring, I was like, no, don't do. It's just, however, it's just, you know, that the teachings are still there. You know, they've opened up to me when I come into rooms and share whatever crap comes out of my mouth, you know, and just, you know, talk about all of the self-hatred that was there, and the sense of unworthiness and all of that stuff, and then just, you know, accept all of that, and then the pointings are there to how to, you know, how to heal that, and it's just been so helpful. I don't know if I can put any more words on it. It's just.
Well, you said then when you come into the room, and I understand that the Heart Explorations program, that's one of the programs that are freely available and available live, or you can listen in, you can join by Zoom or by the radio. What is it about the Heart Explorations program that you particularly like, and when is it again, just to remind us?
It's Tuesday mornings. It's a 2-hour program, and it starts at my time. I'm in Central Time, so it's 8 o'clock Central Time, so it'd be 9 o'clock Eastern. And so it lasts for 2 hours. Ann Blanchard facilitates it. But the purpose of the whole thing, well, I don't know if I shouldn't, Ann could probably do a better description of this, but we do, I mean, we actually do practices during the, you know, we'll start off often with the, you know, with the mind dump. And then sometimes as a group, we'll go in and look at that together. We'll play the Is Happening game as a group, which is just a simple game like Is Happening is just can be, just really shift your attention back to what's real and what's important. And then people, if there's something really going on with somebody, they get an opportunity to share, just open up and share. And then we look at that together, a little more deeply, like what's the belief behind this? And it's just oftentimes I'm listening to it while I'm working, so I'm not able to participate. The times when I'm able to actually participate in it, it's just, it's just a powerful one of many.
Well, Joe, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so useful to learn all those things that Awakening Together offers, and also to benefit from your own experience and the wisdom that you've shared there. So just thank you so much. And we'll touch base again in the next 10 years and see how you're going.
Thanks, Julie.
All right, so now we're welcoming Mary, who's tuning in today from St. Louis in Missouri. Is that right, Mary?
That's correct. In the U.S.
Thank you for joining us. And we're doing these interviews because we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Awakening Together, and it's a way of appreciating all the things that it's brought to our lives and helped us along the spiritual path, but also for people that may not have discovered Awakening Together yet, so that they can find out about some of the things that we appreciate about it. So Mary, can you tell us how Awakening Together came into your life, please?
Sure. Well, it started with, I've been on the spiritual path for years and years and done A Course in Miracles and some other things. And I was involved with, and still am involved with, Teachers of God, an organization, and Cindy Krupp, who's a minister in Awakening Together now, and Susan Telford, both work for the Teachers of God. So I get to know Susan the best because she manages several of their programs that I participate in. And Regina was a teacher at Masterclass in 2020, and I think in 21. I know she's done at least 2, maybe 3. So that's how I came across Regina. And then I knew from talking with Susan that she was in the MPP program, the Minister Preparation Program. So then I started tuning into Awakening Together because I liked what how Susan represented and how she is, and wanted to check it out myself.
And what is it that Awakening Together, how does Awakening Together help you on your spiritual path, Mary?
Oh gosh, there's so many resources, so many resources. I don't know if I'll ever check out all the ones that I would like to watch and participate in. So it does that. And one of the things I appreciate, even though I gave up formal church years ago and had never thought I'd be a church member again, there's no pressure with this one. They always give you the opportunity to donate and support them, but so many things are free. It's not like they're trying to make money off of anybody. They give so much, and all the people involved that I've gotten to know give so much of themselves. And I know that we give what we need to receive, or we receive when we give. I mean, I believe in that principle. The other thing that attracted me was their statement of purpose about being an assembly of equals and so welcoming to all faiths, cultures, beliefs, whatever you bring, you're welcome.
Yeah, I really relate to a lot of what you're saying. And Mary, one of the things that Awakening Together encourages, or that's very important for it, is to encourage members to be self-reliant on inner wisdom. How do you tune into that inner wisdom?
Well, now that I've been doing it for years before I found Awakening Together, actually, and for years I called it Holy Spirit. And And then I kind of evolved. My name is Divine Beloved. That's when I'm talking to Holy Spirit or inner wisdom. That's how I address inner wisdom. And I was doing that before I started doing Awakening Together. I've been doing gentle healing, and so following what we're taught in the gentle healing courses. So it's evolved over the years. So right now what I do is I actually tune in. I call it tuning in. When I wake up in the morning, before I even get out of bed, I'll just say a brief, guide me, Divine Beloved, guide me today. Tell me where to go, what to say, to who, what to do, and remind me to ask for guidance if I get caught up in something and forget, which I do. I mean, life happens and things come at you, and sometimes you just forget. And it's important to remember to step back. Regina teaches us the rest, accept, trust, is to step back, take a pause, and ask, especially when you don't know if nothing's coming to you. I've gotten pretty good over the years at recognizing the difference between the egoic voice, which always has some anxiety or some pressure or fear attached to it, and inner wisdom, which is always peaceful and loving and gentle.
People are sometimes surprised by the wisdom that actually comes through them. Are there any examples that you can happen to think of some wisdom that's come through to you and how it's helped you?
Oh gosh, well, going back in the beginning, it was very startling and almost upsetting because it was so surprising. Like, I would never do that. I remember one of the earliest things that happened when I was still married and we were in therapy and things were a little rocky, and I got this nudge to send flowers to my then husband at his job. And I had never done that. And I had never thought, oh, he wouldn't even like that. But I did it, and it just made such a difference, at that time. That was one thing, which is kind of a big thing, but there's little things too. Sometimes it's just, turn down this street instead of go that street, and think, oh, okay. And then I'll find out later that there was a traffic jam or, some inconvenience that I would have been inconvenienced by. So I don't know if that's enough or if you want more. I can give you
beautiful examples. Thank you, Mary. Do you mind also sharing what your spiritual practice looks like?
Well, right now I'm doing gentle healing, and I'm in gentle healing 3. So I usually start in the morning, like I said, turning the day over and asking for guidance. I have a dog and a cat, so I have to get up and tend to them. Sometimes they're the ones that wake me up even. So then I do usually get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and go back to the bedroom, go back to bed, and I read my quotes for the day or whatever the reading is for the gentle healing. Sometimes I'll do some journaling. Monday through Friday, there's a meditation available on Awakening Together site, either awareness of awareness or loving consciousness. It depends on what day it is. So I do those in the morning, and then I'm also doing an MPP course currently, and I try to do that in the morning too. Before, I just seem to resonate or think better if I get those done in the morning. That's about it. That's how I start my day.
And you mentioned before MPP is the Minister's Preparation course.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, as part of that, I think I know that you study various spiritual texts, and there's various books as well that have come through. The founder of Awakening Together, Regina Dornacres. Are there any quotes from any of those sources that have been particularly helpful to you on your spiritual path, or that you particularly cherish?
Well, I couldn't think of any one particular quote when I was trying to think of a quote. I do like to go back to the statement of purpose for Awakening Together. I think that's just so perfect and so beautiful. I like the mantra we were given in I am that I am. And that helps me get quiet and centered too if my mind gets real busy. And then there's a practice, rest, accept, trust, and to remind myself to do that. My favorite book so far was actually from Gentle Healing 2, not Gentle Healing 3. I don't know if that's going to show up, Thoughts of Awakening, that Regina did. And there were several during Gentle Healing 2 that I did for more than one day, just because they were so beautiful and lovely. And sometimes I would write them down on like a little card or something and carry it with me. And then I also did, before I did the meditations, the live meditations that we're doing now, Karen Worth, I think it was, recorded each of these, a meditation for each of these. I used to listen to those meditations every morning when I was doing Gentle Healing 2. And I probably will go back to them at some time because I resonated with them. They were so beautiful. So no, I didn't answer your question. I don't have one particular quote for today because it can change from week to week.
No, that's beautiful. I'm glad you reminded me of those Karen Worth meditations because they're just priceless. Hearing her voice just brings me there. And you mentioned, I think, was it the guiding purpose, or can't remember the correct term, but which is printed on the Awakening Together website. What is it about that that's so important to you?
Well, a couple of things. I think we're an assembly of equals. And then I think it's in one of the principles, it talks about that nobody has spiritual authority over anybody else. And I grew up in a tradition, and I won't name it. I'm trying to be respectful and loving and forgiving, but was taught early on that lay people didn't have the ability to discern scriptures or holy writings, that everything had to come through the teachers or the clergy of the religion, and we had to listen and follow their guidance and instead of your own. And even as a child, maybe it was my rebellious spirit, I don't know, but even as a child, that didn't always make sense to me. Things the adults were in my life were saying did not always make sense, and sometimes were contradictory. So I like that there's no spiritual authority over anybody else, and that we're considered an assembly of equals. And so we learn and we do respect and love and welcome whoever comes with whatever they have. Wherever they are in their path is where they are. And I've learned that with my own family too, not to interfere, just to let them be who they are.
You may know that in Awakening Together, we're also encouraged to contemplate and to write out what our spiritual aspiration is. Have you done that? And if so, would you mind sharing it with us?
Sure. And it's sort of evolved over the last couple of years. Currently, my aspiration is to find or discover or remember self-realization, to realize who I am, to find me. And while I'm doing that, and when that I'm not waiting for that to happen to do this, but I want to live in joy and be an instrument of peace.
Sounds beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, we're celebrating, as you know, the 10th anniversary of Awakening Together. Is there anything that you'd like to share about anything that we haven't covered that you think might be good for people that are new to Awakening Together, or might be the first time that they're hearing about it?
Well, I would say go to the website. Start. I think there's a list of menu at the top. Start with about to see what Awakening Together is about, and then there's one that says Start Here, which has a lot of resources. And I would say just find something that calls to you, but don't overdo it. Don't try to do 5 courses at the same time. In fact, there's NTI, the New Testament interpretation by the Holy Spirit. I think the whole title is something like that. They'll tell you if you're doing Gentle Healing or MPP not to do that at the same time. And there's a reason for that. There's a lot of the truth is the truth, and it comes through in all of it. But you can get too bogged down in the intellectual aspect instead of trying to be open to the experience of it.
Well, it was very helpful what you said. If you've got more, continue. But yeah, looking at the website, there is a ton of information there.
So, it's kind of going to depend on what appeals to the individual. For me, the gentle healing classes, just because of the word gentle healing, I think maybe that's what attracted me to it. And I knew Susan Telford was doing gentle healing, was a facilitator, and I already had a relationship with her. So that's kind of where I started as far as the resources. And then there's the Sunday gathering that's always beautiful.
And Mary, have you participated in any of the retreats, or are there any that are on your wish list to do?
Oh, well, if I had unlimited finances and time, I would probably do all of them one after another. But I have done two, and one was actually not Awakening Together sponsored. It was sponsored by the St. Louis A Course in Miracles collaborative or foundation. There's a big community here in St. Louis for the Course in Miracles, and they've brought Regina in a couple times, and she was here last year in November and did the 4 Principles of God. So I attended that retreat, which was phenomenal. And I had seen her teachings on the 4 Principles of God. And for me, I'll just say there was, on an intellectual basis, there was a lot to take in and a lot of information. And it's non-traditional and very different from what I had been exposed to growing up. So it's like I kind of got it, but I really didn't. So I wanted to do the retreat, which was great because it was, I don't know, 2.5 or 3.5 days. I don't remember now. But she really went into depth, and then there was time for, questions and discussions. And I'm not saying that I have it completely in here, but I have a better intellectual understanding and the differences. And I can recognize when I see events or see things happen, sometimes it'll say, oh, yeah, that's the creative principle operating, or, oh, that's manifestation. I can kind of recognize in myself and in my experiences what's going on. The other retreat I just did in May was Regina did a satsang in Levita, and that was my first time in Levita, and I can't wait to go back again. It's so beautiful there. Have you ever been, Julie? Oh, I hope you have the opportunity someday. But just being in that space and being with Regina, and she also shared with us, she just published, or Awakening Together just published her latest, I guess, endeavor. She calls it an interpretive translation of the Tao Te Ching. And she was sharing with us during that retreat when nobody else brought things up. She always had something in her back pocket, I guess, to talk about. And we got into a couple of the chapters, and why she chose this word and that word, and she would ask for feedback, and that was a beautiful discussion. And it also, I traveled with 2 other people from St. Louis, and then a 4th person from St. Louis that I had not met before was there also and traveled home with us. So that was part of just being in the community. And then I met so many people that I knew from little boxes on Zoom and have known for a while. And to meet them in person was lovely too. There was a gentleman that's in my gentle healing group that was there that I've known for, I guess a couple of years or more. And it was nice to have the person. And anyway, it was great experience and fellowship and community. And
that sense of community is one of the things I love about Awakening Together. And yeah, I can imagine meeting some of these people and in person would be fantastic too. Now, Mary, are you a person who tends to listen in online in the sanctuary, participate via Zoom in some of the many programs that are offered, or do you tend to listen in via the radio or watch the replays on YouTube, or there's also podcasts? How do you tend to participate?
My preference is to do the broadcast as they're happening. I don't listen to the radio, partly logistics wise, because then I'd have to stay in my office where my computer is, because I'm not very tech savvy. So I can do my computer, but I haven't figured out how to get it to other devices or get it to my phone or that type of thing. And I don't have a high-tech phone either, so it may or may not work. I've tried some podcasts on my phone and I can't get them to play, or it won't download, or not enough memory, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I try to do the Sunday gathering.
Weekly. Yeah.
To, been doing MPP classes, and then the gentle healing we meet once a week online or on Zoom in person. I just recently started some of the other programs, and it just depends on what's going on in my day and my schedule, and what I have time for. So,
well, we've covered a lot of things already. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to mention?
Well, I would just say, if anybody listening that's not familiar, it's a wonderful, great community, but it's not a place where you're going to get a lot of pressure. So if you're the least bit curious, I would say go explore and see if there's something that resonates for you. People are welcoming and they're friendly, but nobody's going to push you to do this or to do that, or, there's no have-tos. So I appreciate that about that we're a community, but we each follow our own path, and people respect that. Yeah,
exactly. And all those things are factors that really attracted me and attract me to Awakening Together. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Mary. I hope I'll get to see you one day, maybe in La Vida, in the Awakening Together Retreat Center there. Yeah. And otherwise, I'll see you in the sanctuary via Zoom. But thank you so much for sharing all this. Hi, Christy, you're joining us from Pennsylvania. And where exactly in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I'm in eastern Pennsylvania in the Pocono Mountains, which is 2 hours north of Philly and about 2 hours south of New York. So almost to the Delaware River. So I'm really far east in Pennsylvania, but it's lovely. I live in the mountains and right on a lake, and I moved up here a few years ago, and it's very sweet. So
that sounds sweet and idyllic.
Yeah.
And how did you first find Awakening Together, Christy?
Yeah, I think Awakening Together found me. As usual, this stuff just kind of shows up in my path when I'm ready, when the teacher appears and the student's ready. I literally used to go to the gym every day with a friend of mine, and we'd walk on the elliptical and we'd talk about spiritual things. Like, she still is one of my mightiest companions. And one morning she said, I got this thing on Facebook from some woman I don't even know, and it's about this book called NTI. And I ordered us both copies, so we're going to get into it. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what you're talking about, but that's fine. I usually listen to her. She's always one of those people that just sort of things flow through her. And so I listen when she speaks, I listen. So we got the NTI books. I swear I had no idea what this was. I knew nothing about Regina or Awakening Together, nothing. I had done the Course in Miracles. I've been on a spiritual journey. Like, really, my life is a spiritual journey. I think most of ours are. But I, every day I said, Holy Spirit, whatever you want me to learn, I'm willing. And then this shows up, and we just started paying attention to NTI. I know I went to the website, and that Jacqueline and Connie did a little program on Monday nights through Pal Talk. This was like before any sanctuary or any of that stuff, I think. And I would just listen to the recordings. Like, I never tried to join Pal Talk or any of that stuff. I just would listen to their recordings, and they were so cute. Connie used to say, out in Radio Land, maybe somebody's listening to us. And I'm like, that would be me. So, and I'd read with my book, and my girlfriend would do the same, and then we'd talk about it. So it was just like NTI kind of just fell into my life. And I give that book to anybody I can. I read it all the time. It's one of those things that just changed everything for me. It was the next plateau for me to get to, and I just resonated with all the lessons in there. I mean, it's still, NTI Luke is one of the most powerful things I've ever read in my life. I find it, if I'm having a rough moment, I just open it and there's something on that page that's meant to speak to me that in that moment. So yeah, that's how it happened. We still laugh about it. We're like, what are the chances of that little Facebook thing coming up from some woman in the Netherlands who we still don't know, that like was talking about these NTI readings, and then bought the book, and that's how I found Awakening Together. And that's how they found me. So it's really cool. I love it. I love how this happens. And it just shows me everything's effortless, like there's no need to find anything to look, to seek, because I'm being sought. And I trust that today, that I always have something brought to me when the time is exactly perfect. And so this was the next step for me. And it really was it. Now looking back, this was 7 years ago. My mom was dying. I was going through a divorce. My kids were older, but not quite grown and out of the nest yet. Like, it was a big transition for me on a personal level. So all of this extra support comes into my life because of, the grace that I live in every day. And that's what Awakening Together did for me at that. And it still does. I still find huge inspiration and motivation and comfort in the Awakening Together community. So, oh, you look so beautiful right now because there's like sun behind you. It's so sweet.
Yeah, it's come out from behind the clouds.
Yeah, you're
That was
all
beautiful.
illuminated in Zoom. You're illuminated. I love it.
Hey, thanks for sharing that. That was beautiful. And you mentioned NTI, which is the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament, which came through Regina.
Yeah.
I suppose it's hard to summarize, but what is it about it that was so important for you? You mentioned Luke, for example. Could you say why Luke in particular, or are there any quotes that you remember that particularly were helpful for you?
Sure. I mean, Luke for me was where I did it in Gentle Healing. So I studied it in Gentle Healing. But when I started just reading it, everything in Luke was about judgment and your mind, like shutting down your mind. And I had a few incidents at that same time where I got to actually had this spiritual experience where I was in meditation and I came out of it and I heard this voice say, judgment clouds your vision. And I looked out the window and there was this huge cloud. I was in Florida at the time, and there was this huge rain cloud. And it was like, I get it. Like, judgment's my problem, right? Good, bad, spiritual, not spiritual, skinny, fat, old, young, whatever it was. It was like these buckets I lived in. And it was like, let go of the buckets. And Luke speaks specifically to that. It's all about like letting go of the judgment. And it's very directive in what to do. I think in that book alone, and again, I don't really remember quotes or anything, but there's so much direction that says, listen to me. In that chapter, there's so many points where it says, listen to me. It says, be grateful, practice your practice every day. Like there's just these fundamental directives in Luke that are about letting go of the judgment and stopping the thinking mind from ruling everything. And so that shift was really powerful for me at that point in time in my life, because I was still assessing, divorce is bad, marriage is good. My kids are not where they should be. They should be in someplace different. Like I had all these opinions that were blocking pure joy. And seeing it was as simple as like popping a balloon, let it go. It doesn't need to have that power. There's this Wizard of Oz movie and Glinda the Good Witch waves her magic wand and says, you have no power here, to the bad witch, right? And that was sort of how I felt with my judgmental thoughts. You have no power here. Like, let it go. And it's almost like just step away and be with the good witch, So it was really great. So NTI is full of nuggets. I think it's very wise. I mean, obviously, Regina was very in tune with the Holy Spirit to have that interpretation flow through her so beautifully and freely. It's still one of the, my go-tos, because I just find so much relief and instruction and inspiration there. It's just a great book. So, and it's not for everybody, because it's really wrapped in this religious, biblical language. I think sometimes that's hard to get past, but I love the Bible. I love Jesus. I loved all of that already. So I didn't have any barriers to that being the extension of the next part of my teaching, so it was just a natural flow, and very, very effortless to just have everything on that page be like, it was like speaking to my heart in such a profound way. So it was great. And then we, in Gentle Healing, spent a lot of time in that book. That was even beautiful because we were together with our little group, and it was really, just so sweet, just such a sweet thing to go through. So I still love that Gentle Healing. It's a great program, So
Now, Gentle Healing is a 3-year program, isn't it? There's 3 different stages, and
Yep.
it's free. And
it's online, and I just feel like it's so available. You can jump in, and wherever you're at in your own path, there's something that's going to fit, because it's all, I never would have been exposed to a lot of that stuff without Gentle Healing. Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta and the Course in Miracles I had done, but I did them all again, the 365, and you get a totally different experience depending on where you're at. It was so beautiful. And then, the contemplations, I was always not the greatest meditator because I would get like really distracted, my head goes, and contemplation was like a game changer for me, because it was like an action that I could take that became more of a meditation as time went on. It's like that struggle just stopped being real in my life, and I could just do a lot of contemplating, and then that became more meditating. So it was a very gentle and welcoming path to stillness. It brought a lot of stillness into my life. So that was great. And that was all through Gentle Healing's curriculum, just ushered me through that. So it was really great. Yeah, I loved it. And I still, sometimes I'm like, I should do that again. Every now and then I'm like, maybe I'll do that again. But when the moment comes, I'll be told what to do. I also did 500 days with NTI. That was awesome. There's just like these little things that have come up that have been like, yeah, I'll do that, and then I'll do that, and then I won't do that. It's just part of the direction that the inner wisdom gives me. But there's so much in Awakening Together that's offered freely at our feet, right? Like pick up a tool, you can use it, and then when you're done with it, put it back down. It's really okay, So it's a great thing. So.
And Christy, you just mentioned inner wisdom then. In Awakening Together, we're encouraged to develop self-reliance on inner wisdom. How do you go about tuning into inner wisdom, or whatever you call it? And is there any wisdom that's come through you that you'd like to share with all of us?
Yeah, for me, it's become a definite way of life. I moved to the mountains. I have this very quiet life. So I have this time every day I do some kind of reading. I read the stuff that comes on my email every day. It's pretty easy anymore because of technology. I do a lot of listening to the recordings and stuff that pops up on YouTube, my YouTube channel. It's just like, I think I'll listen to that. And it's always perfect, whatever it is, So that, I say my structure is usually in the morning, a couple of hours of I'm not trying to make it a couple of hours. I walk my dogs and come home and have a cup of coffee. And then whatever comes up, I usually read. I usually write a little bit of something, and I usually sit in silence. And whether that's a meditation, or it becomes a contemplation, or it's just watching my thinking mind, deciding it needs to have more activity that day, whatever it is, it could be anything. But that becomes sort of my morning come to life routine. And then everywhere I have 2 Post-it notes right here: rest, accept, and trust. Like anytime I get distracted by work or my kids or whatever, I always can come back to right now. Where am I? Here. What time is it? Now. Rest, accept, and trust is like a huge, huge mantra for me, because it brings me right back. And then it's like, I can rest. What do I need to accept? And what am I not trusting? Where is this going? And there's usually a very gentle way to lean into the moment. And in the moment is freedom. It's freedom. So I find most days are like that, and it just sort of flows. If I get more jammed up, there's definitely more things I can do, like there's a lot. I find that stuff on YouTube is very, very powerful. I just was in a meeting this week, and a work meeting, and I could feel it. I could feel the little prickly voice starting in my head. What is this? You don't need this crap. Blah, blah. It always throws in the word crap. You don't need this crap. And I imagined myself, and I hadn't thought about this in a year or two, or maybe years, in the circus tent and the meadow. It's like, you're in the tent, step outside of the tent, go to the meadow. That's all from Inner Ramana. I hadn't really had that kind of experience with that since I was in gentle healing. And I was like, oh, this is how this stuff is. It just washes over me in exactly the right moment. I wouldn't consider myself a scholar. I'm not seeking, I'm not learning. I'm not, my mind is really pretty much not the main course. It's what my heart has absorbed. And I trust that today. The right thing always comes back to me. I'm like, the circus in the tent, of course, this is exactly what I needed to be reminded of. Be in the meadow, be out in the meadow. You don't need to be in the trapeze artists are going to do their thing. And that's what these teachings have done for me, is they've always kind of given me these light posts to walk the journey by, and the beauty is I think they've always been there for me. I think they're there for all of us. It's just, I trust it today, and I look for them and I see them, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that I know that light post is always there and the light is always on. And all I have to do is just say, I'm willing today. I'm willing to be directed. And inner wisdom is not shy. It runs with it, so it's been really good. And I don't really know. I have no idea what inner wisdom would want me to share. I think it's all in the moment. I don't, this isn't the Christie show anymore. I'm off of the Christie show and off of the Christie channel. So that's freedom. And I'm in a much more connected place. So I know even when things might happen in my individual life, it's really not for me. There's ways that this is all being played out on a much bigger stage. And so, some days it's like, I have to let this energy move through me. If it's a sadness or a grief or a happiness or a joy or a fear, whatever that thing is, it's just energy moving through, and it's for all of us. We're all collectively doing this. And so I don't question anymore what makes me happy. In fact, that was a big learning I got from Regina. She talked about preferences in one of her teachings, and it was like, who cares what you eat? Who cares what you wear? Every day you wake up and you're geared towards, what do I want? What are my preferences? And it's like, play a game, let go of that, for one meal, for one outfit, just throw on anything, eat anything. Don't think, what do I want? And I have found that has been very freeing in many, many ways for me. What do I want? Who cares what you want? Doesn't matter, because it's not going to make me happy anyway. It's not about me getting happy, being peaceful. None of that matters. The peace comes from such a different place than my own little preferences. So I don't know. It's been a really beautiful journey so far, and I love the mighty companions that we have together. And again, most of them I haven't met. I don't know them personally. They don't know me, but they've made such an impact on my life, just listening to people share in the sanctuary, and some of them I consider my friends. Like Rhoda, she has my heart. I just love her to pieces. She was in gentle healing with me. I listen to her recording every week, and I have great love for her, and it's just like, we're connected. We're like sisters in the soul for sure. And then there's other people like Reverend Billy. I've never met Reverend Billy. I probably never will. I never tried to miss if he's in the sanctuary doing a homily, I tried to tune in, because there's something about him that speaks to me, so that's the beauty of this, right? We're all over the world. We're in all different places, and yet we're all together and we don't even know how together we really are. We really are awakening together. So it's a very cool thing. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I just pop in when the spirit tells me to pop in. So I have a lot of gratitude, and I celebrate the 10 years with a lot of gratitude and a lot of hope for how things continue to evolve in exactly the way that this world needs it, and so we're on this earthly journey together for a reason. And I embrace that, one of the first things I heard Regina talk about was Peace Pilgrim. I never knew anything about Peace Pilgrim. And, I'd see her with her little shirt and I think that's kind of a kooky old lady, but the more Regina would talk about how inspiring she was, I read her book, and then, I loved what she said, see where you fit in the holy plan, we're all in a holy plan here, and embrace that, no, you're here at exactly the right time for exactly the right reason. And you don't have to know what that is. You just have to believe it, because in that belief is incredible power. So I don't know, all that stuff is just so, I don't know, I feel like I get these gifts every day. I'm a little kid at Christmas every day. I run down and see what gift is under the tree. And it's one of these little remembrances or nuggets or, or even things that haven't happened yet that I kind of know, oh, isn't that cool? That's going to be so cool, We'll see how it goes, but it's all good. So, yeah, so that's where I'm at.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Now, Christy, you've been on a retreat, haven't you? Can you tell us where that was and what it was about?
Yeah, I went to La Vida in October. Oh gosh, it was one of the first live retreats they did out there in the retreat house. So I think it was 2019, probably. It was before COVID, but after they got the retreat house all set up. And
in Colorado, right?
In Colorado,
yeah.
Yep, and out in La Vida, and it was a dyad retreat, a 4-day dyad retreat, and it was, it was amazing. It really was amazing. Like I didn't even know what anything was, what to expect, what a dyad was. I had no idea, and then you're in this intense practice multiple times a day where you're sharing with a another person where you're at in that moment, like what's coming up for you in that moment. And it was very structured. And I look back now, I'm like, I think I wouldn't have done that if I had known, because it just was kind of scary, but at the same time, like so incredibly beautiful. And I met some wonderful people there. And again, who cares if I felt comfortable or liked it? I benefited greatly from the experience of, I just remember I was terrified in the beginning of the week and I was completely free at the end of the week. So it was great. Whatever needed to be worked out got worked out, but it was really beautiful. And then, being there in Colorado with everybody, it was really lovely. It was really very sweet. So they have that retreat. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. So.
In case anyone's listening to this, there's a dyad practice in the sanctuary on most Saturdays.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity to dip a toe
in.
It's
actually like an ongoing activity now that people are doing on Zoom. So it's back when I did that retreat, none of that was going on, and now it's kind of grown, and I think people have benefited a lot from it. So it's been good.
Well, so we're talking because we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Awakening Together. Is there anything that you'd like to share? Anything else about what you appreciate about Awakening Together that might be helpful for someone that's new to Awakening Together or only just discovering Awakening Together?
For me, the key is just lean in a little bit, and be willing, because there's so much here. And, to be honest, I don't really think about awakening as a place or a destination. It's the together part that makes for me this such a sweet part of the journey is, people share things and they're meant to be heard by my heart, whatever it is, and then that process of just being listening to a recording, reading a book, being in the sanctuary for something, hearing a song, that process is the mystical part of this, right? And I know that's exactly what the power is in my life today, of being directed to things I don't see and I don't know, and I'm not projecting and I'm not expecting. It's just this mystery of how it's all going to happen. And Awakening Together is a beautiful place for that, because we are, what I think in our preamble, it says we're, like-minded thinkers, we're seeking the same thing. We're looking for this inner direction. So there's no hierarchy. It's not like there's one person that's got all this and we're at their feet trying to learn. It's like we're all teaching ourselves and each other at the same time. And it's a beautiful thing, So for me, it's just letting it wash over me like in a gentle way has been powerful. I literally have not tried to learn anything in my mind. And so I can't really remember quotes and stuff like that. And that's okay. That's not my thing right now. But I know in my heart, a lot of things have been imprinted forever and they're not going anywhere. And like with the circus in the meadow, that stuff just kind of comes up at exactly the right moment when I need it. And I think it's just like letting it wash over me, even taking like the gentle healing and the different things. I have a friend in gentle healing right now. She started this year and she gets, I'm falling behind in my assignments. I said, no, there is no falling behind. You're never behind and you're never ahead. Whatever assignment you have that day is your assignment for that day. Like if you miss it a couple days, it's okay. You just pick right back up wherever you are. It's like there's this looseness to it that, as somebody who I always liked structure, like that was sort of part of my judgment. Letting all that go has been hugely freeing. And like to some extent, I laugh now at my little structures because I think, oh my gosh, you poor girl, you poor baby, look what you were trying to do. No wonder you were crazy. I mean, in my head, I'd always be like, I got to do this, I got to do that, and it's just like so different today to just trust, rest, accept, and trust that all is exactly the way it needs to be. And even when I see things come up that I think, oh, that can't be good. How is somebody getting sick good? Or how is something bad happening to somebody good? Well, again, what do I know? Good, bad, I don't know. It's taking me to a divine place. It's perfect. It's perfect. So yeah, so I celebrate 10 years of Awakening Together. I celebrate 10 minutes of Awakening Together because honestly, it's a joy, and I have nothing but gratitude for the people who have been involved in it and the people that have brought these powerful messages into our world. For Regina, I think her inspiration has inspired me for sure. I saw her in Italy and I saw her contemplate and pray and just be so in the moment, and it was beautiful to watch. She wasn't getting lost in the travel details and stuff like that. She was really present. And I thought, that's how I want to be in this world. I just want to be present. And I feel like I've gotten to grow in that a lot since I've been in Awakening Together. So it's a great thing. It has my heart for sure. And I'm very thankful. So
I just love the enthusiasm that's come through, and obviously from the heart and such warmth and just
it's
sincerity.
It's funny because I pop in and out of Awakening Together. I'm not really like one of the mainstays. And when I heard this thing, like share your experience, I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that because I do feel so grateful and so incredibly happy that it came to me at the time it did. And, it ushered me through these periods of my life at divorce. I was in Pompeii on my what would have been my 25th wedding anniversary. I was in Pompeii with Awakening Together in Pompeii, all the burned people. And I was like, I celebrate every minute I was married, and I celebrated my divorce in that moment because it was like, look where you are. Look where you are, like, look around. And I'm with all these people that are going through the ruins and contemplating like the meaning of life and the instant it can change. And I had such gratitude. And, you can't make that up. 25 years, what would have been 25 years? I'd been divorced about 6 months. And I'm like, here I am in Pompeii on this anniversary of what would have been my wedding. But I still have great love for my husband and my marriage. I mean, it was so beautiful. And I think a lot of that was because of being in Awakening Together and blessing everything in the journey. Like there was no need to be upset. There was no need to be angry. And then I'm in Pompeii, I was so lucky. I mean, really, it was a perfect day. So, yeah, so I just have a ton of thanks and gratitude. And, I think, wow, if this can happen in the 6 or 7 years since I've been with Awakening Together, I mean, imagine what's happening tomorrow or next week, it's all good. So it's a pretty cool path. So.
Well, it's been really cool you having that, sharing that with us today, Christy. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for doing these interviews. It's really great to meet you, and I was really happy to do it. So it's been easy to talk to you. So.
Well, lovely. It's a real privilege to be doing these and meeting the rich camaraderie, and that term that you use, the many mighty companions that are in Awakening Together and on the path to awakening. Together.
I mean, we have no idea, like, we're in the midst of such holiness, and it's a beautiful honor to live like this, and we do it all on Zoom. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. It just gives me like such joy that through this technology, we're all really connected in a way that 10 years ago wouldn't have been possible, I mean, even in the early days when they were doing Pal Talk and passing the mic and all that stuff, it was much more difficult to have these organic conversations with people and being in this same rooms and same presence. It's been really a gift. So I always think, well, technology is definitely not all bad when we look at how we've been able to use it in this forum. So it's been great.
Yeah, so a shout out to Zoom as well.
Yeah, really, it's been great. I love Regina posted something about some gentleman, I didn't know him.
Phil Frisk.
Yeah, and about how he was so instrumental in, the early days. And I was like, oh, that's just, there's so much about, like, there's so many people that are involved in this that you don't even know.
Yes.
But I really did. When I read that, I just said, thank you for Phil and his life and his dedication, because look, I mean, we all benefit from this, and the way he obviously was called to support this whole endeavor early on, and doing the technical investments and things. Like, I'm a benefactor of that for sure. So today I'm very grateful for Phil, and I bless him and his spirit and his life, because it's, it means a lot. So, and again, I never met him in his earthly form, but I feel like I know him. So it's a good thing.
Totally. I felt exactly the same. It was really touched my heart hearing about what he gave and how so many of us have benefited from that. So just so much gratitude for all the people that donate to Awakening Together. Really, and thank you for giving your time today. And
my pleasure, Julie. I hope you have a good rest of your day and all these interviews go well. And thank you for your service in doing this. It's great.
Likewise. Thanks, Christy. Bye for now. See you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So thank you so much for joining us, Marisol, all the way from New Jersey. We're going to be talking about what attracted you to Awakening Together and how it's been helpful in your spiritual journey. So thank you so much for taking time today. I suppose just to give everyone listening a sense of, why you joined, it'd be great to sort of hear, you've been with Awakening Together about 7 years. Do you remember what it was that really first attracted you to joining?
So definitely what attracted me was Regina. I listened to Regina. I kind of stumbled upon her through Jennifer Hadley. I had been listening to Jennifer Hadley for some time, and she interviewed Regina, and I just resonated with everything she was speaking about. Her genuineness, and I don't know if that's a word, or her honesty, really, really spoke to my heart. And so at that time, it was still kind of separated as far as her teachings were in regina.com, I think, and then it was Awakening Together. And then I was going kind of back and forth, and around that same time, it all became one thing. And Regina let me, I don't know if it was from Regina herself or from Awakening Together. I saw there was the ministerial program, and I was interested in not necessarily becoming a minister, but I wanted to do all the classes that were being offered for my spiritual growth. And that's what led me to Awakening Together. Yeah.
Exactly the same as my story. I remember Jennifer Hadley interview, and then I remember thinking I absolutely have to do this ministerial course because it seems to cover everything I'm really interested in. I just loved hearing Regina. It's so funny. It's so lovely hearing people's stories. And so obviously at Waking Together, we spend time honing our spiritual aspiration. Are you able to share with us yours, and then also how Awakening Together has helped you along your spiritual path towards that aspiration?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as with everyone, my spiritual aspiration has changed over the years. And looking at it now and where I am on this path right now, I would have to say my spiritual aspiration would be just affirming that I choose to trust in truth, to trust in the truth. And because right now it's becoming more and more clear as to what I don't want, as to following the ego mind and its stories. And despite the uncomfortableness that may come up with not listening to it and listening to the truth, that's what I want to affirm, that I want to trust in that truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. So that's where I'm at right now. And I feel like as Awakening Together and in the community and everyone in Awakening Together, it keeps me focused on what it is that I do want. That's how it's been very helpful as far as with a spiritual aspiration.
And are there any practices or teachings in particular that you treasure that are helping you with that aspiration?
The practices that I treasure the most and what I have gotten the most out of Awakening Together, apart from the ministerial program, is gentle healing. And the gentle healing helped facilitate that. I feel that very necessary part of being gentle with oneself, learning to love and accept oneself, regardless of where you are on this path of awakening to the truth. And that has been one of the biggest things I have gotten from Awakening Together is I'm trying to find the right word because it's honesty keeps coming to my mind. Everyone on Awakening Together, they help build that community of trust where you can feel vulnerable and honest and share all parts, no matter how ugly it can get. And that always facilitates growth. So I feel like the compassion, the honesty, the openness, and the loving all method. Like, I can't believe I'm actually saying loving all method, because when I first heard about them, like, there's no possible way I can ever do this. There's so many things that I cannot love, but just the baby steps of it. You can't love it, then how can you at least allow it to be here, right? And even with resistance, if you're resisting that, can you even allow that resistance to be here? So it's just really all about the allowing things to be as they are and as they flow, and it will get you to where your heart is guiding you.
I suppose thinking about that loving all method, there is obviously a retreat on that. Are there any particular programs that you listen to, or any retreats that you've been on that have really also helped and deepened your own path?
Definitely. I've done quite a few retreats lately. I hadn't done any. I'm grateful that there's a lot of retreats that Awakening Together offers online. because I can't make it out to Colorado at this time. I still have young children, and it's not possible for me to make it out there for a week's time. But definitely the retreat that Jacqueline Eckard facilitated of the judge, or I can't give you the exact name, but it's how to not listen to the judge. That was incredibly helpful. I did Anne Blanchard's Keys to the Kingdom, incredibly helpful. And I know I did another one with Anne Blanchard. 5 Unexpected Ways. I know it's 5 Unexpected Ways to Clarity, maybe. I don't know the exact name. But every retreat that I've done, it's just been incredibly helpful, just diving in deeper, looking more, becoming more aware of those blocks to clarity and truth. It's just been amazing.
And are you able to share with us, what does your spiritual practice look like now for you? Is it sort of living in the moment? Is it certain practices that you practice every day? How is it?
It changes and fluctuates, I'm learning more and more every day that spirituality doesn't have to look a certain way. And I feel like my whole life is a spiritual practice. And there's been many times when ego gets hold of it and says, oh no, this isn't spiritual. This isn't. And the more that I reflect and look back and look at everything, every moment is a spiritual practice, every moment. Because the intention is always there. Even if it I get lost in whatever, and in the world or in the moment or life, but even in those moments, I see how everything is being used for awakening and clarity. Because like I said, before it was a lot of meditation, a lot of inquiry, but that's not what it is right now. I mean, I do, not as much as before. It's just an everyday being with what is, and my willingness to open to truth and not getting lost in the mind and watching as the mind comes up with all its games and tricks and all that stuff.
And you mentioned you joined sort of 7 years ago, and I'm sure you had a path before that, but do you sort of see the impact in your life? You said you've got young children as well, you've got a family. Do you see sort of change in the way you can handle things? There's no expectation, of course.
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, I have a now 12-year-old. He just turned 12, and a 14-year-old. So it's been incredibly helpful with learning to accept them as they are, and watching how that tendency of wanting to control or making things happen. And this practice has taught me, it's helped me so much to just step back and be willing to accept things as they unfold, and them as their own person, or it's taught me how to be so much more patient, so much more compassionate and kind and open than before. I found, Awakening Together, definitely it's helped me as a mom, it's helped me as a wife, just in every way it's helped.
And I feel like you've shared some wisdom already that has come through you, but is there any sort of pearls that have come to you in those moments of meditation or during retreats that have stayed with you that you would like to share, or even a quote, perhaps, if not a piece of wisdom that comes to mind that you turn to often?
I would say one of the things that I've turned to many times that's helped me is some of the games that are suggested in Awakening Together. One of them that Anne Blanchard has introduced me to, and a group of us, as to the what is happening. And I think, Regina introduced her to that. I don't know exactly where it actually originated from, but I learned it from her. And just naming what is happening as a meditative type of practice, bringing me into the moment, is a lot. It's my go-to a lot of the times.
I can really see that. And well, just finally, then I wondered, I've asked you a few questions, but wanted to give you an opportunity to share. Is there anything else, as this is the anniversary of Waking Together, that you wanted to share about how you appreciate Waking Together, or you wanted to share with anyone listening who may be new to Awakening Together?
Yeah. If you're looking for a group of people who are very committed to awakening to the truth and who will embrace you exactly as you are on this journey, with no judgment, then I invite you to go on Awakening Together. There's so many resources there, so many free resources, so much community that you can just hop on the sanctuary and connect with other people that will support you and be there for you. So definitely, if this is what's calling to you, it's there. There's help, and there's community, and there's support with Awakening Together.
Well, thank you so much, Marisol. It's so lovely to reconnect, and it's really inspiring to hear all the things that you get out of Awakening Together and how it's working in your life. So really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So George, thanks so much for joining us today in Colorado, no less, to sort of share with us what you appreciate about Waking Together, your journey there, the learnings that you've had from Waking Together, to sort of share with others as well who are thinking about joining Awakening Together. So I guess to start, you and I were joined roughly the same time, didn't we? Really, at the inception of Awakening Together. So I wonder if you can share with us, what attracted you to Awakening Together?
Regina. I've known Regina for somewhere around 15 years. I don't remember exactly when I first met Regina. I was introduced to Regina by Sonia Spahn, one of the original members. And I was in a Course in Miracles program. We did a weekly call-in. And Sonia was part of that group, and she told me about Regina. So I went to a small retreat with Regina in Louisiana, and then I went to a silent retreat with Regina in Connecticut, I think it was. So that was really why I got involved with Awakening Together. So,
yeah. Was there anything particular about the teachings, or how Regina sort of presented the teachings, that you remember thinking, oh yes, I'm going to follow these for a while?
Well, we all have a journey on our spiritual path, and I kind of look, probably 25 years ago, I started making the transition from traditional Christian belief system and participation to a unity church. And in that unity church, I discovered a Course in Miracles. I also was introduced to David Paul and Candace Doyle through their book, The Voice for Love, and got involved with that program. As well as participating with Course in Miracles group on a regular basis. And I know for several years, we had a group that did the daily lessons out of A Course in Miracles. So I just see this as an evolution that Spirit has guided me step by step through this process. I was very impressed with Regina in that, she doesn't hold herself up to be the guru for anyone. And she was very generous in sharing the spiritual leaders that she found valuable. So that's really the kind of organization that I really enjoy being part of.
Yeah, yeah. And we did the ministerial preparation program as well, didn't we? Together for
yes, yeah,
that was great. So one of the things we obviously talk about is our spiritual aspiration, and it'd be great if you're able to share. Do you have a current spiritual aspiration, and then also how have some of the teachings or programs or retreats within Awakening Together helped you with that, do you think?
Well, my spiritual aspiration is, and pretty much has been, to know truth. Certainly the programs that Awakening Together provides, the minister preparation program, as well as the other classes available, had a big influence on helping me understand that all religions point to one truth. In the Bible, Jesus only spoke in parables. And I've come to understand that all religions, in a sense, are teaching through parables. We really, until we have this revelation from Spirit, we're incapable really of understanding truth. That has to be revealed to us. And each one of us has our part in doing so. We think we're the doer. I really think we're being done more than we're doing.
Yeah.
Spirit is guiding us. We think that we are participating, but we're not the guiding force as an individual.
Yeah. Yeah.
George is never going to wake up. But George is just the body that Spirit is focusing through, as is each one of us. Each one of us has that common spirit. There's only one Spirit, inner wisdom. And in the same way, even though we think that we're individuals, there's also only one thought of separation. So, how this process works, don't have a clue. But I see that people are waking up, as I understand Awakening, and there's no reason that anyone that has that guidance to do so cannot be part of that process.
Mm. So what does that look like for you in terms of a spiritual practice? I mean, do you consider it a spiritual practice that you have? I mean, how does it look in your day to day? Being part of Awakening Together is a big part of my spiritual practice. It helps me to focus. It constantly reminds me to be present. And to me, I think that's one of the major keys, is just being present in the moment. Being part of Awakening Together gives me some structure that, left to my own devices, George is his only worst enemy when it comes to really getting things done, just left to my own devices. So, I think like a lot of people, George is kind of lazy. Yeah. Conveniently
So,
forgetful.
to get distracted, and busyness is one of those issues that keeps us all from really focusing. Awakening Together kind of helps keep me on track.
Are there any particular retreats or teachings that you've heard over the years that also help you stay on track? The one I always refer to is Rest, Accept, Trust, because it's the easiest one I have to remember, and I have a very short-term memory. But are there any that stand out for you?
No, I'm pretty casual. I don't know that I have a specific spiritual practice. I just focus on being present.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. I'm not a consistent meditator, although I have this belief that meditation is probably pretty important. It's something that I've really been drawn to. My meditation is more casual, just being present throughout the day. That's the one thing about staying in the program with Awakening Together that helps me constantly remind me, and hearing other people speak of their journey and their trials and experiences is also helpful. So, we have a tendency to think we're the only one that's not going to get it. But as we listen to people share in Awakening Together, as well as other formats, we have this realization that, hey, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah, it's such a big part of Awakening Together, isn't it? That sort of coming together and just sharing how normal we all are, how it's actually, we're all doing the best we can with what we've got. Just kind of starting to wrap up, is there any, do you have some wisdom that has come to you over the years that you would share, based on your time through Awakening Together? But it doesn't have to be. Is there anything that what would it be? Well,
Awakening Together is really simply a focal point. And this focal point is looking out over many different disciplines, many different speakers. And, I think the most important thing is the realization that regardless of where we think we're at, first of all, we don't know where we're at. We all have this I'm not there yet feeling. We all have this I'm not good enough feeling. And that's just common to the human condition. Thoreau said men live lives of quiet desperation, men and women. And it's just one of those things that being in a group, focusing on some form of truth, whatever that means for you, is the important thing to realize that you are worthy. You are worthy of awakening. And regardless of where you think you're at, doesn't really matter. The sages that I've listened to, many of them say that it seems to get worse for many people before it gets better. Before that awakening occurs, it can get uncomfortable, and we just have to be willing to push through that and constantly focus on our willingness to allow spirit to flow within us and reveal truth to us. That's about it.
There's a lot. So a lot to digest. Well, George, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today, and look forward to seeing you in the sanctuary and in the various programs and retreats with Awakening Together. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Happy 10 years Awakening Together. Thank you to everyone who participated in this celebration. Those watching now, we are so glad that you're a part of this community. We couldn't be it, do it, have it without you. You can find out more information about our non-dual community at awakening-together.org. And if you want to visit our online church, we'd love to have you in our next service or program. All you have to do is visit our website, click on Online Sanctuary. That's on the main menu bar. And then in the drop-down menu, look for Enter the Sanctuary. Hope to see you there.